wanted Grimm, and instead I got Hans Christian Andersen.
Hi everybody, welcome back. It's been a while. We're not going to talk about it. But we're back. That's the important part. We are back. And today we're going to do something a little bit different because it's early and we're lazy. So Titania's going to tell us a story while we get ready. So I don't even know what you're doing today.
Grimm. We're doing Grimm.
I should have known.
You know, it felt appropriate. And we're going to do an all-time favorite, Briar Rose.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Beauty.
Yeah.
It's actually really short, so I hope that there's enough time for me to actually get ready in this. But I figured that one of the things I wanted to talk about at the end was different versions of Sleeping Beauty that I expected to be in this book, and it was not.
Does it have alternate versions of Snow White? I was like, I'm drawing a blank. Snow White, because you have like Snow White and the Huntsman, stuff like. Do you know if it has any of those in there?
Grimm? Yeah, so Grimm has there is a Snow White. Little Snow White. And then there's another one in here that sounds like it could be part of Snow White, but it is escaping me. There's a lot.
You weren't prepared for me to ask
pages and pages of table of contents. So like, but there's one in there where I'm like, maybe this is another version of Snow White, but I don't know.
You weren't prepared for me to ask, were you? It's okay.
No, because I said Sleeping Beauty, not Snow White. So.
Well, I was trying to think of another one that has like multiple versions, and Snow White has multiple. Like you have Snow White and the Huntsman. I think there's like a third one about Snow White.
So Snow White and the Huntsman might be the original name for it, actually.
But the Huntsman isn't in all versions of it. You know what I mean?
Yes. I know very little about Snow White.
So you said we're doing Briar Rose. Is Rose Red the same?
She's not a story, and I have not read Rose Red, but it is definitely on my to watch list. By the way, this is sunscreen, in case you're wondering. It's not deodorant.
I thought it was one of those stones at first. I did all of that off screen.
So we're all familiar with the 1950s version that Disney made where, Aurora gets cursed by Maleficent because Maleficent didn't get invited to a party. And it
was a baby shower, not a party. It was her birthday.
Baby shower is a party.
Christening? It was technically her christening, wasn't it?
In the animated version?
Yeah. Because she's like born already. It's like her christening, right?
That's true. Yeah, I guess maybe it wasn't even christening. Maybe it's just like the presentation of the baby. I don't know. Either way, there's a party to celebrate Aurora, and Maleficent comes and she's mad about not being invited, so she curses Aurora, and the last fairy uses her gift so that Maleficent cursed Aurora to die after picking her finger on the spindle of a spinning wheel at the age of 16 on her 16th birthday. And the last fairy, a good fairy, changed it so that she would sleep and be awoken by true love's kiss. Parents freak out, send her to live with the three fairies. And this is the part of the animated movie that really bothers me. The fairies were instructed, I guess they were instructed, I don't know why, but for some reason, they tell Aurora the day before her 16th birthday that she is a princess, and it's to persuade her not to like go after this prince because she wants to, run off with this first man that she's ever met in her life. And they try to convince her not to. And to do that, they're like, it's because you're a princess. And rather than waiting a day or two to take her to the castle. That night, they're like, we're gonna take Aurora to the castle to reunite her with her parents because now she knows. It makes zero sense. I don't get it. And of course, prophecy fulfilled. She pricks her finger, and then true love's kiss wakes her up, and that's that. That's everyone knows that story. I was more familiar with the story from Into the Woods. You know that?
Yeah. Yes, I love Into the Woods.
Yeah,
we love Meryl.
Into the Woods is a little darker, and it combines. There's this story about a woman who was pregnant and craved greens, and her husband sneaks over into their neighbor's garden to steal greens from that garden because that is the only thing this pregnant woman wanted. And so he thought he was being a good husband and steals from this neighbor who happens to be a witch. The witch gets really angry, which I think actually in Into the Woods, is it greens or is it beans Into the Woods? I know the written story is greens.
It's greens because she has like this whole thing about like rooting through my rutabaga and like
that's it.
Greens.
For some reason, it was playing in my head as beans.
I'm pretty sure she says greens.
I think you're right. It's been a while since I've seen that movie / play. But yeah, so Meryl Streep in the movie gets angry. She's the witch. She gets angry and she curses the couple that they would have to give her the baby in as payment for stealing vegetables from her garden, which is insane. Absolutely insane. So they do it because she threatens to curse them if they don't. And she takes that baby and puts it high in a tower and doesn't let anyone see this girl and raises her as her own. And this girl, she names Rapunzel. Why am I mixing this with Rapunzel? This is wrong. I'm going off into the wrong story.
Yep, you are.
All right.
Sleeping Beauty is not in Into the Woods.
Sleeping Beauty is not Into the Woods. Where was I going with this?
I don't know where you were going with it. I was here for the ride.
Okay, so I'm going to blame the fact that I haven't had a full cup of coffee all day. Okay.
You need to go to the store and buy some creamer.
Well, at least I got the Disney version right. Skip Into the Woods because that's wrong. But I had a point to that though. And now my brain is mushing everything together. All right, so now I'm going to have to do Rapunzel.
Are you doing the story of Rapunzel or are you doing the story of Sleeping Beauty?
I'm doing Sleeping Beauty. Rapunzel is actually the story I was originally going to do, which is why it's fresh on my mind.
Oh. Okay.
So anyway, fine. I know where my brain went on this. So yeah, so that's the story of Rapunzel, which gets confusing because there is also a thicket around the tower that's supposed to prevent people from getting to Rapunzel, and the prince, like, it's essentially the thorn thicket, and that's why my brain was like, we're talking about the same thing.
Oh yeah, because she has like her eyes removed when she's like thrown from the tower or whatever. Into the swamp. Because Rapunzel gets blinded.
I know
after her mom finds out that she got preggers from the king or from the prince. No, that's Sleeping Beauty. Hold on, wait. Which one gets pregnant? Sleeping Beauty is the one that gets pregnant while she's asleep.
So Rapunzel gets pregnant. So like Rapunzel, the prince trying to get to her gets blinded by the thorns, and Rapunzel winds up pregnant, and the witch banishes her to an island, and the prince either got blinded trying to get to Rapunzel or got blinded trying to get to Rapunzel on the island, because then Rapunzel cries tears into his eyeballs and he can see again.
Yeah, Sleeping Beauty, I do believe, also gets pregnant, but it's while she's sleeping, doesn't he? Like, or is that Rapunzel? Fuck, I don't remember now. Now you got me questioning myself.
Snow White, I think, gets pregnant while she's in her death-like sleep. and gives birth, and it's giving birth that wakes her up.
Why does Grimm have so many stories that are so similar?
I know, that's why my brain is not working. Okay, so this is a wonderful start to our refreshed
Return.
season.
We're doing great here. You're winging it, and it's just.
I had a plan. It's only half winged.
Okay, when you throw me into the mix and you had a plan, it just all went to shit.
Yeah. Anyway, back to Sleeping Beauty. So that's the version of Sleeping Beauty that we know. And I'm pretty sure that was the time Disney was doubling down on true love, solving all the problems. So I was expecting Grimm to be dark and horrid like Rapunzel. Which I guess we could have just gone into, maybe this will be a Rapunzel and Briar Rose moment. Because we've now technically covered all of Rapunzel, minus a few details. But it was Briar Rose, Sleeping Beauty, was unfortunately sad and disappointing. I was not pleased.
Really? Why?
So
Tell me more.
Tell you more. So that was my long-winded introduction to Briar Rose. So the story starts off with a king and a queen, and they were desperate for a baby. And so the queen is taking a bath, and a frog creeps out of her bath water onto the land and says to her, "Your wish shall be fulfilled within a year, or before the year is out, you will be given a child, a daughter specifically." Yeah, I know.
What? So now we're going into the Frog Prince.
Dude, I don't know. I do not know where this goes. This frog speaks to the queen and, grants her wish, I guess. Did the frog grant the wish? I don't know. It doesn't actually.
Grimm, what are you doing?
Oh.
What are you doing?
So, before the year is out, the prophecy comes true, and they have a daughter. And you don't find out until near the end of the story that they name her Briar Rose, but they do. They name her Briar Rose. And the king and queen were so filled with joy that they decide to throw a great feast in celebration of the birth of their daughter. And they decide that they need to invite the wise women of the kingdom, which have magical powers. They're not fairies, they're not witches, they are wise women.
But this is Disney's fairies, are the wise women?
Yeah, so Disney took the fairies and took the wise women and replaced it with fairies. They also changed the number. So there's 13 wise women in this.
Holy shit.
Yeah. 13 wise women, which sort of plays on where we get the unlucky number 13, like it plays on that a little bit, because what happens is that the king goes to invite the wise women, but he only has 12 gold plates. And because he only has 12 gold plates, he doesn't want to offend the 13th wise woman by not serving her dinner on a gold plate. So instead, he doesn't invite her at all. Yeah. I personally think the smarter move would have been to send a letter to all the wise women and say, "Hey, we only have 12 gold plates, so we can only invite 12 of you. Work it out amongst yourselves."
The actual answer is that he's the fucking king. He could have just gone out and bought a 13th plate.
I don't know. Maybe plates are scarce. I dropped my
He has 12 gold plates plus plates for everyone else. He could have bought another one.
Logic doesn't always work in these stories.
Look, I learned my lesson when it came to the cheese.
Oh, come on. The cheese was the best. And if anybody is watching this and doesn't know, you have to go look at, I think it's Clever Elsie, that episode. I'll try to remember to link it. But
it was so ridiculous. So ridiculous. Though I will say that the bridegroom is about the only one you did. It was actually actually intelligent fairy tale.
It was in the same video too, I believe.
No, it was a different one.
Was it?
Yes.
It's been a while since I've looked at it.
That one is the one where I called it. I won't say it on here in case anyone hasn't seen it, but I called it. I was like, oh, this sounds like, and then it was true. And I was like, holy shit, look at me. I pay attention.
The robber bridegroom.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So yeah. So the king doesn't do any logical thing, which I was thinking he was not able to attend or to obtain a 13th plate, and that would be my plan. But I guess yes, just get another plate and plan it for a date when you have this 13th plate. That's not what he does. He just doesn't invite the 13th wise woman.
I just want to know what the economy is like in wherever the hell this is. That the king could not get an extra plate. Like,
yeah, doesn't he have backup plates? Like, could you just use China?
I don't know. In Frozen, they had 8,000 salad plates. Come on. Step it up, my dude.
So the party happens, and the 12 wise women show up, and they decide to grant the princess gifts of beauty, a gift of riches, like they essentially like use wise woman magic, I guess, to bestow upon this girl everything that she doesn't already need because she was born into a role of privilege. So just need
wise women magic.
And then the 13th wise woman, super angry that she was left out of the celebration, pops up into the party and she curses the child, which is probably still an overreaction. At least Maleficent addresses that, right?
She has like some speech, doesn't she, about it?
Yeah, I think like she mentions it offhandedly that maybe it was a bit of an overreaction, but whatever.
Look, Sleeping Beauty is not one of my favorites.
Really?
I'm a Cinderella girl. If we're talking classic Disney, Cinderella. I don't care about anything that came before Cinderella.
See, classic Disney, I like Cinderella, but I'm not really a big fan of any classic Disney movies. Like I prefer the live action remakes to Disney, honestly. I don't know why. Growing up, they just never really fit with me. I was a Disney Renaissance person, like love Disney Renaissance.
Wasn't everything Disney's? Like, I've seen them all. I just wasn't a fan of like Snow White or Sleeping Beauty.
I really don't like Snow White. But I do think Sleeping Beauty, if I had to pick, probably was my favorite growing up.
Why?
I know why. I know exactly why. I enjoyed 2 scenes in the animated version. One is there's an animation change when you watch that movie from this normal line drawn or like hand drawn line work of the animation, and then when she opens her eyes after the prince kisses her, it all looks like a beautiful painting. Like the animation changed.
Yeah.
I as a kid who was really into painting and stuff, for some reason that stuck with me. And then the last scene where she's dancing and the dress kept changing color, that was like one of the things I really liked.
I think for me, probably why I didn't like it. So it reminds me a lot of the story of the Lady of Shalott, and Lady of Shalott's just better.
So the back to Grimm. So anyway, so 11 of the fairies had given their gifts. The 12th one was left, and the crazy lady shows up, the 13th wise woman, and she curses. Actually, the exact curse is the king's daughter shall in her 15th year prick herself with a spindle and fall down dead.
Okay.
Yeah, a little dramatic. So the 12th fairy, taking pity on this baby who was now cursed to die at 15, it does not necessarily say birthday, by the way.
It just says in her 15th year.
In her 15th year, yeah. So it could happen anytime in her 15th year. And the 12th fairy, who had yet to give her gift, went ahead and used it to change the wording of the curse because she couldn't break it. So she changed it to where Briar Rose and all of her family, friends, everything around her would fall asleep for 100 years. And that way the curse is still technically fulfilled, I guess, because I guess sleep is like death. And if you read the Anita Blake Vampire Hunter novels, when vampires sleep, their soul leaves their body. So I guess sure.
Vampires have okay, that's starting around the time.
That's how they get reanimated in that Vampire Hunter series. They their souls come back temporarily during the night and then leave during the day.
We're gonna put a pin in that and come back to it.
I can go on. So the king, in an absolute panic, goes and has every spindle in his kingdom destroyed so that they can try and make this not happen.
Okay.
So, pretty straightforward. So it happens that on the very day when she turns 15, so it does happen on her birthday, but it could have happened any time in that year. Is that the Starry Night palette?
It is.
Oh, I'm jealous. I'm jealous. Oh, it's gorgeous.
It is beautiful.
I almost bought it when it went on sale, and I was like, am I ever going to use blues? No, and I still regret it.
I for sure bought it. I've used the fuck out of it too. It has this glitter color in it. Love it.
So pretty.
Anyway,
so back to Aurora. I'm sorry, Briar Rose. So
same. Said it's the same.
Yeah.
I'm gonna wash my brushes. We're just not gonna talk about that right now.
So yeah, I never wash my brushes. I really should. So anyway, so on her 15th birthday, her parents decide that to go out for the day, I guess. They're not at home, and so the princess Briar Rose decides to explore the palace, which I'm not sure she's ever done before, but that's what she does. She goes and she explores the palace. She opens up all the doors. She goes in every room, and at the top of a tower, she finds
a locked
door. She finds a locked door.
Okay.
And she finds the key.
Can't use it.
It says a rusty key was in the lock. So the door was locked, but they left the key in the lock. And she opens the door and she finds an old woman spinning at a spinning wheel. I don't know who it is. I don't know why they kept a single spinning wheel in the kingdom, but there you go. They never explained.
Well, so like technically they would need a spinning wheel to make their thread, to make their like.
Just import it.
He can't buy a 13th golden plate. How is he going to import material for his fucking clothes?
He went through the trouble of having everyone in his kingdom destroy every spinning wheel. So like, at the very least, put the person doing the spinning like miles and miles from the castle. Like,
well, maybe he thought that, what is the saying? The closer to danger, the farther we are from harm.
Yeah. Yeah, they do say that. I'm not sure I believe it.
I don't think Treebeard believed it either.
Yeah. So she asks the old woman, what is this thing that is making such merriful music? And she picks up the spindle, and like before anybody can do anything, she pricks herself and falls asleep. Not only does she fall asleep, but everyone falls asleep. And apparently, by the time she does this, her parents had made it back to the throne room, and because that's where they wind up falling asleep themselves. So I'm not sure where they went or when they got back, but that's what happened. So everyone falls asleep. It goes through this really interesting description about people from, like, in the kitchen, the cook was about to box the ears of a kitchen boy, which if you know anything about ear boxing. That's awful.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Body. But like in the middle of boxing his ears, she falls asleep, and then he falls asleep, and then somebody was plucking a chicken, and he falls asleep while plucking the chicken. And
Does the chicken fall? Oh wait, the chicken's dead.
That chicken is dead, but the live chickens and dogs and stuff are alive and falling asleep. The fire.
So it's every living thing, not every person.
Every living thing, horses, chickens. I can't think of another animal now. The fire go out. Everything goes into this magical sleep. And I guess it's going to preserve the chicken, the dead chicken, for reasons I will explain in a moment. So everything falls asleep, and a thicket, a Briar Rose thicket, grows outside of the castle walls. And it's really small at first, but as the years go on, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And many princes hear of the story of Briar Rose and her beauty and decide they're going to go look. They want to look at her. She sounds awesome. And I also sort of personally think that they don't believe the stories either, because years have passed and they're like, there's no way that there's just people asleep in there. Well, every time somebody tries to go into the palace, the thorns, like, they seem to come together on each other, and they trap the princes and then just slowly let them die. So yeah. So lots of dead bodies are strewn about within this thicket, which is really funny if you think about it. So 100 years pass.
Well, I'm sorry, how many years?
100 years. That was the curse that they switched it, that she'd fall asleep for 100 years. So 100 years pass, and another prince hears about the story, and he decides he wants to check it out. And the person he heard it from was like some old guy on the side of the road he was talking to or whatever, a merchant or something. And the guy's like, no, don't do it, you will die.
Everyone got side of the road.
Yeah. Everyone dies who tries to see this princess. And so the prince is like, nah, it'll be fine. So he wanders to the castle, and there the thicket of thorns is no longer a thicket of thorns, but of roses, briar roses. They're still thorns, but like it's all pretty now. And instead of it trying to keep him out, it actually just opens up for him. And so he goes and wanders through the palace and sees everyone sleeping. He sees the cook, and he sees the guy that was flicking the chicken, and he's astonished that the stories were true. So he goes and hunts down where Briar Rose is sleeping and is mesmerized by her beauty. And he goes and he kisses her. And then within a couple moments, she wakes up. However, the kiss is not what woke her up. It specifies that the curse had lived its 100 years, and she woke up because the curse just ended. So he just happened to kiss her right before she woke up. I want to make that distinction because it is not true love's kiss.
So he just happened to be the right prince at the right time.
Yeah, it was just the right time. Yeah. And
go Prince Philip.
Go Prince Philip. He's not named, just so you know.
Well, he's called Prince Philip in Disney, so his name is Prince Philip.
So he goes, and he and Aurora go down to the throne room where the king and queen are, which is why I know they had to have come back at some point in time, because they're there. And everyone's starting to wake up, and it makes a big deal of talking about the cook wakes up and starts boxing the kids' ears again. Like nothing happened. No one realized they were falling asleep.
Oh, so they just like go back with whatever they were doing?
Yeah, the fires spring back to life. The guy.
Hold on, wait. Fire is not a living thing.
I have no explanation for you.
I have questions.
They spring back to life, or they're burning again. They come to. The guy plucking the chicken, which they make a point, wakes up and continues to pluck the chicken, which is why I'm like, the dead chicken also had to have been preserved, because he just wakes up and starts plucking the chicken again.
I have so many. I don't like it.
And then the prince and I keep on calling her Aurora. The prince and Briar Rose go to the king and queen, who are just now waking up, and go, hey, we want to get married. And then they get married, and that's it.
Story's lame.
I know. I wanted Grimm, and instead I got Hans Christian Andersen. I didn't.
And I got Hans Christian Andersen.
I got a true fairy tale. Like it's kind of sweet and fine. There's nothing problematic about it. It just is.
It just wasn't what you wanted.
Yeah, there's always something problematic about Grimm. The only thing I get out of this is that creepy prince kissing a sleeping woman. That's not okay. You don't go kissing random strangers who happen to be sleeping. That's weird.
Is that a life lesson right there? Don't go kissing creepy strangers. Is that the same color I just used? God damn it.
Don't go kissing creepy strangers who happen to be sleeping.
All right.
That's our lesson from this. And it's not because of what Grimm said. It's just that's the right thing to do. Yeah. Like, so yeah, that is the story of Briar Rose as told by Grimm. You can see why Disney, I guess, jazzed it up a little.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just not a lot there.
I don't even know where to begin with this, okay? Like,
I know. Normally I try to choose stories that people are usually familiar with. We do have the outliers like Clever Elsie. Oh. But I do like to cover stories that like we all know them, but do we actually know them?
No, because I thought that I knew the story of Sleeping Beauty, and now my whole life is a lie.
Yeah, and so like, but normally we come out with like, WTF, what did we just read? This is insane. And instead, I'm walking away with meh.
Right, like,
So I chose this story over Rapunzel because I wanted to share my disappointment with the world. I had to be disappointed. You had to be disappointed. And if anybody watches this, they too can be disappointed because I expected more from Grimm.
Yeah, it's oh.
And at least we did go into Rapunzel a little bit because you got a smidge of the funness of Grimm from that.
So like, how? So in the Disney movie, what is the curse? True love's kiss will break it?
I'll prick her finger on the spindle of a spinning wheel and die. And she says it quite like that, which is, it stuck with me my whole life. And then the third fairy, who hasn't given her wish, not a wish, gift yet. She changes it.
Okay.
She's like, I can't break it, but I can change it. And she switches it to that she will prick her finger on the spindle of the spinning wheel and fall into a deep sleep. I can't remember if they say death-like sleep in the animated version, but deep sleep and she could only be awoken by true love's kiss because Disney.
And how long is she asleep in the movie? Did they ever? She can't be that long because she meets Prince Philip before she goes to sleep.
Yeah, the movie makes it seem like 3 days. But I have heard from like in passing that she's supposed to be asleep for 100 years. And now reading Grimm, I'm like, oh yeah, why? Because in Grimm, it's 100 years. I guess thinking through the curse, perhaps the reason why the last wise woman made it 100 years is because the curse was that she had to die, and by putting her to sleep for 100 years, you're going through an entire natural lifespan of a person. So the satisfy the
but
curse.
I mean, technically, it wasn't like that's more than a lifespan for them. True,
but extra years to be safe.
I feel like 100 years is the equivalent of like in Greek stories, and they're like Odysseus was gone for 10 years. Like, yeah, it's just like a nice big loud round number to explain a long period of time.
True, though she was at least asleep for a number of years because the thorn thicket started off small and it said it got
taller every year because it was being fertilized by the best fertilizer known to man, and that's man.
Dead people. Yeah, but it got taller every year until it became like a fence around the castle. So she was at least asleep for a few years, but according to the story, she was actually asleep for 100 years, and everything, including the dead chicken, was preserved.
And the fires. Like, look. But it's so anticlimactic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We can't all be golden. Where's my dragon?
Right, but also I'm just like, but so like the prince has no bearing on this other than she gets to wake up and get married.
He happened to be in the right spot at the right time for that girl to wake up and go, ooh, pretty, and I guess choose him. Unless there's a conspiracy here and he went to the king and queen, like he told Aurora that, oh my gosh, I totally broke the curse for you. Look, I kissed you and you woke up. The curse is broken. 100 years have passed. So like he maybe sleeping 100 years, they're a little groggy. And so then he goes to the king and queen with Briar Rose, not Aurora, as I keep trying to call her, and goes, look, I saved you guys. And the king is like, cool, as your reward, marry my daughter. So like, maybe there's a conspiracy. Maybe that's why.
You know, when you say it like that, it reminds me of this song that the Limey Birds do, who go to like Renaissance fairs and stuff. They have a song called Fairy Story, right? The beginning of the story sounds very much like Sleeping Beauty. And I'm not going to tell you the whole thing, but I'll tell you the beginning, which is, you know, in days of old, when knights were bold, there lived a fearsome dragon, and the king he was in great distress, and the country spirits flagging. Until one day there came a knight who was handsome, bold, and charming, and he slew the dragon with this sword and a smile that was so disarming. And so then it's like, you know, the king he asked the knight his name, but the knight said, do not bother. For the name of any knight, said he, is the same as any other. And then the king is like, you know, you'll be rewarded for your glory and take the bed of one of my daughters for like a night of exalted pleasure or something like that. But the whole thing is, the whole point of it is that the knight is gay and so is the king. So he ends up sleeping with the king instead. But the beginning part of it just reminds me of that, when it's of that whole thing where it's like, hey, just, you know, stumbling through here and killed a dragon for you. You should let me like marry you.
I'm going to choose to believe this. I'm going to think with a big old con man. Maybe he wasn't a prince at all. And he just waltzed in there at the right time and, you know, altered the story a little bit.
So you know how I was said that I was like going back and listening to our old episodes?
Mm-hmm.
Bigger conspiracy theory. What if it's the Pied Piper?
It weird fits.
Yeah, because like he just disappeared and no one knows what happened to him. So my theory is that he went here and married himself a princess.
All of these stories are intertwined. Go watch our Pied Piper episode if you haven't seen it yet, because it's weird.
It's not weird. It's historically somewhat kind of magically accurate.
It's all weird.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I still don't know how I feel about this though.
Disappointed.
Don't know how I feel about it.
That's how I feel about it. I guess, you know,
you wanted Grimm and you got Hans Christian Andersen.
Hans Christian Andersen could be a bit meh. I should go pull out that book.
He was a romantic at heart. We all know it. It's fine.
Yeah, I should see what he has to say about Briar Rose. But yep, that is all I have for Sleeping Beauty. Sorry I got sidetracked by Rapunzel, and I blame the rose thicket for that, because I was thinking about the thorns and blinding princes, but what I really needed to think about was the fact that thorns were killing princes, not blinding.
I thought you were just gonna blame me because I was blaming me.
No. So I don't know what our next story will be, but it will be Enkidu's.
I do have one prepared mostly, if you want. It's a throwback to the very first episode we did. But it falls more in line with the last episode I did, which was about monsters. So these are, I'm calling it cleverly, watery tarts who scream. It's about creatures in the water that like to scream.
So
don't
that's all we have for you. Look at next time for women in water who scream.
Women in water who scream. Watery tarts who scream.
Watery tarts.
Specifically.
I hope you enjoy the new format, even if our lighting isn't super great. It's kind of fun. So
my lighting,
Tolkien.
yeah, my lighting is trash only because I'm super pale and my skin tone matches my walls.
Yeah, check out the Taming of Tolkien, which is our other channel that we're going to start updating. We are going to do a reaction to the trailer and talk about some of the controversies that are going on about it. And
oh my god, there's so
doing watch parties. So
join us.
Bye.
Bye.